How do you explain a life that doesn't follow any map you've ever been shown? How do you describe a love that doesn't fit into the neat, tidy boxes that society prepares for us? Sometimes the most profound connections are found in the most unexpected places, woven from the threads of loneliness, courage, and a kind of understanding that transcends all the usual rules. Today's story is from a young man named Leo. After returning from the military, he found himself adrift in a world that felt foreign, a world that seemed to have no place for him. And then he found something extraordinary, something that gave him a new sense of purpose, with not one, but two incredible women. This isn't a simple story. It's complex, it's unconventional, and it asks the question, what shapes can love truly take when it's allowed to grow freely? How do I even begin to talk about this? Okay, let me just take a deep breath. My name is Leo. I'm 23 years old, and I'm in love with two women. Yes, two of them. And when I say love, I don't mean some fleeting infatuation or a casual, undefined thing. I mean a deep, sincere, and profound connection. A private world that we built together, a world that I first secretly enjoyed with my lover, Olivia, for about half a year before it expanded. Olivia is an old friend of my mother's. I know how that sounds. A cliche from a movie you'd be embarrassed to admit you watched. But trust me, I never in a million years imagined our relationship would become what it is. It all started with me, with an emptiness inside me that I didn't know how to fill. After being honorably discharged from the Army, I came home feeling like a stranger in my own life. The discipline, the brotherhood, the sense of purpose, it had all vanished. I enrolled in college on the GI Bill, trying to blend in with kids who were 4 or 5 years younger than me, but I felt like a ghost haunting the campus. My relationships with women were tentative, weak. My heart felt like a desert landscape, cracked and barren. And then, one Sunday afternoon, Olivia came to visit my parents. I'd met her a few times over the years, but this time was different. She walked into the living room, and the moment I saw her, something inside me shifted. Maybe it was the way the late afternoon sun streamed through the window, creating a halo around her dark auburn hair. Maybe it was her eyes. They held a universe of experience, a deep warmth, but also a quiet, aching loneliness that I recognized instantly because I saw its reflection in my own mirror every morning. She had the graceful confidence of a mature woman, a quiet self assurance that I'd never encountered in girls my own age. It was like a low voltage current ran through me, waking up parts of me I thought were dormant forever. My body moved before my brain could object. As Olivia was getting ready to leave, I followed her to the door, my heart hammering against my ribs. "Ms. Evans," I said, my voice feeling clumsy and young. "I know this is incredibly forward, but I was wondering if I could take you out for coffee sometime. And could I get your number?" I will never forget the expression on her face in that moment. It was a complex cocktail of surprise, confusion, and then just a flicker of intrigued curiosity. She looked at me, this awkward young man with two serious eyes, and a strange, almost mischievous smile played on her lips. "All right, Leo," she said, and with a steady hand, she typed her number into my phone. She'd been divorced for many years and lived alone. Perhaps like me, she was just looking for the warmth of another person somewhere in the quiet corners of her heart. A few days later, after a long internal battle, I summoned the courage to send her a text. A few hours passed, hours in which I convinced myself I'd made a terrible fool of myself. Then my phone buzzed. It was her. "If you're not busy, why don't you come over to my place tonight? It's just me. We can relax." It's just me. Those three words sent a jolt of exhilaration through me, inviting a man to her house where she lived alone at night. That had to mean something, right? That night, we sat on her comfortable sofa, drinking beer and talking for hours. She didn't treat me like a kid or like her friend's son. She listened. She listened to my stories about the service, about my feeling of being an outsider at school, and she did it with a depth of understanding I had never experienced before. And then, in a quiet moment between stories, our eyes met. and the air between us became charged. Without a word, naturally, inevitably, we crossed the line. The feeling of kissing my mother's friend was a dizzying mix of the taboo and the sublime. It was a thrill, unlike anything I'd ever known. I'm not a classically handsome guy, but I take pride in my physique. The body I had forged in the military seemed to be a source of genuine fascination for her. She praised it with a happy, almost awestruck expression, saying it was firm and strong, like a rock she could anchor herself to. Though I was the one to make the first move, once our relationship was established, Olivia became increasingly passionate, more adventurous. There was a fiery, hidden intensity in her that the outside world never got to see. I melted in the face of that passionate energy. With Olivia, I felt safe enough to try things, to explore parts of myself that my previous, more timid girlfriends would have found strange. We were like two horses who had slipped their bridles, running wild and free in a world that was ours and ours alone. As we spent more time together, Olivia began to care for me in a way that was profoundly nurturing. Maybe it was because of her connection to my mother, but there was a maternal, tender quality to the way she spoiled me. It was gentle, and it was safe. Honestly, it was nothing like my relationships with younger women. The two girlfriends I'd had in college were a constant source of petty drama. I'd get the silent treatment for being 5 minutes late to a movie, or for forgetting some meaningless 1 month anniversary. It felt like dealing with a child. But Olivia was different. She treated me like a man, she respected me, she cherished me. And that care, it was like a healing balm on my dry, lonely soul. It was a sense of security, a secret harbor I could retreat to from the confusing storms of my life. On the other hand, our nights together were like a hurricane, a passionate clash of wants and desires. The intensity of Olivia, the way she demanded and gave in equal measure, left my legs trembling every time. I was completely and utterly captivated by her. My college studies became a distant secondary concern. Before I knew it, half a year had passed in a blissful, intoxicating haze of love and discovery. Olivia taught me things about intimacy I never knew. I'd always thought, as a young, physically fit man, that it was all about intensity and power. But as we made love time and again and shared our feelings and experiences with each other, I realized that wasn't the whole picture. Olivia accepted all of me and guided me with a patience and wisdom that felt like one on one tutoring in the art of connection. Thanks to her, I learned how to please a mature woman, how to listen to her body and her heart. And the more I learned, the more passionately she responded. The expression on Olivia's face when she would look at me afterwards, a satisfied glow radiating from her entire body, and a look in her eyes that seemed to be dripping with honey. It was a sight I felt selfish for keeping all to myself. And then, one Friday, everything changed again. I told my family I was going on a short road trip with some college friends for the weekend. In reality, I'd planned to spend the entire weekend with Olivia. That evening, as I was excitedly getting ready, I got a text from her. My love, I have a lunch date with a friend tomorrow, so I won't be home until the evening. I hadn't seen Olivia in 2 weeks because of my final exams. I had been planning to release all my pent up frustration and longing the moment I saw her. The news was a small blow. I replied that I understood, of course, but I couldn't stop a question from bubbling up in my mind. Who was this friend? I didn't think it was a man, but a rootless, gnawing anxiety began to creep in. I was confused by my own reaction, but I decided to just ask her about it casually when we met on Saturday evening. The next day, I finally saw her. It had been 2 weeks, and the anticipation was electric between us. The moment she saw me, she wrapped her arms around me with a radiant smile. I've thought about you every single day, she whispered. I think we might be a little loud today, so let's go to our hotel. Our hotel? It was a quiet, discreet place a little outside the city, a secret hideaway that felt like our own private kingdom. Just hearing her words made my blood sing. We jumped in a cab, and the moment we stepped into the room, we fell into each other's arms, desperate to close the distance of the past 2 weeks. After 2 long, passionate sessions of making love, I finally felt the fever in my blood begin to cool. Olivia, smiling and content, said she didn't have the energy to move a single finger. We lay tangled together, enjoying the simple, profound pleasure of just talking, catching up on all the small events of the past 14 days. It was then that I remembered her friend. Oh, by the way, I asked, trying to sound casual, who was your friend you had lunch with? Olivia smiled. That was Chloe, she said. She's like a sister to me. We've known each other since we were teenagers. She explained that Chloe was also divorced, lived alone, and had no children. They had been each other's emotional support system for years. A few years ago, Chloe had moved across the country for a new start, but life there had been difficult, and she had recently moved back, trying to piece her life back together. Her life has been a real chaotic mess, Olivia said with a sad sigh. I felt a wave of relief knowing it wasn't another man. At the time, I didn't think much more of it. Then Olivia said, Hey, I have a picture of us from lunch. Want to see? She scrolled through her phone's photo album and showed me a picture of the two of them smiling, glasses of wine in their hands, sitting at an outdoor cafe. And when I saw that picture, a single, startling thought shot through my mind. Chloe is incredibly attractive. She had a different kind of beauty than Olivia. If Olivia was a deep, complex red wine, Chloe was like sparkling, effervescent champagne, vibrant, full of life, with a hint of wildness in her eyes. Looking back now, I can see that was the exact moment that a seed of curiosity about Chloe was planted in my mind. So, Olivia asked, nudging me playfully, are we still looking young and fabulous? You are both young and absolutely stunning, I replied truthfully. But you, of course, are the most captivating woman in the world. I buried my face in her chest, hiding the thought that was trying to form in my head. I could never tell her that I found her best friend so attractive that I was already on some level fantasizing about her. But the image of Chloe, smiling and vibrant, stayed with me. The next time we were together, after a long, languid session of lovemaking, as we lay tangled in the sheets, exhausted and content, a bold and reckless idea came to me. I decided to test the waters. Olivia, I began, tracing patterns on her arm. I had a strange fantasy the other day. Oh, what kind of fantasy? She asked, her voice lazy with satisfaction. I was thinking, what a romantic, incredible thing it would be for a man to be in love with two women at the same time. I said it as if it were a philosophical musing, a joke, but my heart was hammering. Olivia lightly pinched my arm. You have some strange ideas, you know that? But her tone wasn't one of disgust or jealousy. It was curious. It's a real dream of mine, I said, looking her directly in the eyes. To experience that just once. I didn't actually expect her to say yes, but deep down, a part of me was desperately hoping she would. Olivia was quiet for a long time. She studied my face, her gaze deep and unreadable as if she were trying to see into my soul. Then, she let out a long, slow sigh. If that is truly what you want, if that would make you completely happy, then I want to help you make that dream come true. The moment I heard her give her permission, my mind went blank. I was flooded with an exhilarating, disbelieving joy. She explained that she had been worried about Chloe, about her loneliness and her recent hardships. The idea, she admitted, was strange, but maybe, just maybe, it could be something beautiful for all of us. A few days later, Olivia told me she had spoken with Chloe. She had told her all about me. Chloe, it turned out, was also attracted to men, but hadn't been with anyone special in a long time. Olivia had arranged for the three of us to get a drink that weekend, just to deepen our friendship. I had a feeling that the conversation had gone very, very well. My heart was pounding with anticipation. I couldn't focus on a single thing in my college lectures that week. I felt like I was floating on a cloud. I counted down the days, the hours, waiting for the weekend, and then it arrived. That Saturday evening, the three of us met at a quiet, cozy cafe a little outside the city center. The first time I saw Chloe in person, she was even more striking than in the photograph. I've heard so many stories about you from Liv, Chloe said, her smile warm and genuine. She says you have a really great physique and that you're a good man. Chloe seemed to have a high opinion of me already, and I felt a surge of confidence. In my heart, a future where I was loved and cherished by these two incredible women was already taking shape. At first, the atmosphere was a little bit awkward, but Olivia was a masterful conductor of social energy. She filled the silences, made us all laugh, and guided the conversation with a gentle, expert hand. She even spoke openly, though teasingly, about our passionate nights together. And instead of being embarrassing, it somehow made the air in the cafe feel charged and intimate. After an hour or so, Olivia said, I think it's time we move this party somewhere a little more private. The three of us looked at each other, and the unspoken intention was perfectly clear. The atmosphere had reached its peak. We decided to leave the cafe and go to Olivia's house. On the walk there, Chloe gently touched my bicep. She was right, she said with a wink. You really do have amazing arms. At that moment, I was convinced this was going to work. Chloe and I could connect on every level. Back at Olivia's house, we opened a bottle of wine. The air in the room was already hot with anticipation. I sat down on the sofa next to Chloe and began with some casual, light physical contact. I rested my hand on her knee as I was telling a story. She didn't pull away. I could see Olivia across the room, watching us with a look of fond, almost maternal expectation on her face. I'd only had a few sips of wine, but I felt intoxicated. My whole body was buzzing. I couldn't stand it anymore. I just wanted to connect deeply with Chloe, this vibrant, beautiful woman who was responding so gently to my touch. Before I could even finish my glass, I turned to her and, in a low voice, expressed the thoughts and desires that were burning inside me. And then the events of that night began. The three of us were wild for each other. I couldn't believe Chloe's passion, her uninhibited energy. Of course, Olivia was just as enthusiastic. The experience was far more thrilling, more emotionally profound than anything I could have ever imagined. I felt like I had lost myself and become someone else, someone larger than life. When a person is enveloped in that much happiness, that much acceptance and pleasure, you can lose your mind a little. I experienced a true, profound sense of liberation. I was swallowed up in a vortex of sensation and emotion that the simple word happiness couldn't even begin to describe. That night, I gave my love and passion to two mature, incredible women, and I don't even know how many times they brought me back to life. Chloe seemed to be truly happy with our time together. She even joked with Olivia that it was unfair she had been keeping such a wonderful man all to herself. Olivia, laughing, agreed. Well, since I've shared him with you now, she said, the three of us should just enjoy this from now on. That night, I was truly, completely exhausted in the best possible way. After we had loved each other to the point of utter depletion, where none of us could even move, we finally got dressed and went out for a very late dinner. The feeling of satisfaction as the three of us sat at that small diner table was indescribable. The way Olivia and Chloe cared for me, flanking me on either side of the booth, made me feel like the luckiest, most powerful man in the world. That night, Chloe stayed over at Olivia's house. I went home alone in the early hours of the morning, feeling a pang of regret at having to leave them. As I said goodbye, I took Olivia's hand and expressed my sincere gratitude for giving me such an amazing, life-changing experience. If you're happy, Leo, she said, her eyes shining, that's all I wanted. Today it was really fun. We should definitely keep doing this. Leaving the two of them behind was one of the hardest things I'd ever had to do. And so our dreamlike love began. On the weekends, the three of us would often spend our time together. We'd enjoy good food and drinks at cozy restaurants. And of course, the final destination was always decided. We found a discreet, hidden gem of a love hotel where the three of us could spend our time without being disturbed. That place became our sanctuary, our hideaway, and we began to spend sweet, intoxicating hours there whenever we had the time. The initial heart-pounding novelty may have softened a little over time, but I still lost my reason and my sense of self every time we were together. I had always been confident in my physical strength, but for the first time in my life, I started to feel like I was lacking stamina. It was probably because I was trying to keep up with two powerful, passionate women. I wanted to spend a long, happy, fulfilling life with my two beloveds, Olivia and Chloe. With that thought in mind, I even started strength training, something I had never been interested in before. I never thought such happiness would come into my life. Thanks to Olivia and Chloe, my happiness meter was off the charts. I have another date to meet both of them this weekend. I even bought two sets of matching, elegant lingerie to give to them as a gift. I want the weekend to come sooner so I can see them wearing it. My expectations and my gratitude only continue to grow. I sincerely hope that this mature, fulfilling, incredible time will last forever. Leo's story is a journey into an unconventional territory of love. It's a reminder that the human heart has its own logic, a logic that reason and societal rules can't always explain or contain. Is this a story of selfishness? Or is it an example of a new, sincere, and consensual form of love? Where is the line between a dream and a complicated reality? We would love to know what you think. If this story made you think, please leave a comment below. Let us know how it made you feel. And if you want to hear more stories that challenge our preconceptions about love and relationships, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for listening.